My mother loves teaching. She always has loved teaching. So when we grew up, we were homeschooled in our basement. She used desk, books, anything that she could find for us. My older brother and younger brother, all three of us, I was the middle child. We were our mother's first students. She taught us math, reading, science, all different types of subjects. One day, my mom was thinking, instead of teaching in the basement, why not go outside and do something fun, like a field trip? She was thinking, hey, do you guys want to go over to the fire station and learn what the firefighters do for their job? We were like, yes, of course. We love firefighters. They're so cool. The sirens and everything in the truck. So all of us went to the car, and when we arrived at the fire station, we walked in. It was huge. We were looking, and I saw the fire chief. He was walking over, and he looked good. He was walking over, and he said, hey, welcome. Are you guys ready to be a firefighter today and learn what we do on the job? We were like, yes. So we followed him over, and we were walking. And I saw the coats, the hats, and the boots lined up in a row. It was a beautiful color of yellow. He said, do you want to try on the coat? I said, yeah. I tried it on. It was heavy. Then I tried on the hat. It was even heavier. Then the boots, I could barely walk in them. The fireman, he was tall and he was buff. He was stronger, so it makes sense why he could wear the gear. I was little, so I understood. He helped me take off the coats, and I wanted to learn more. So I looked over and I saw the fire pole. He said, you know the fire pole when the bell rings and the firemen all slide down? I said yes, and I asked how we're supposed to go down. So we climb up, we look down, and wow, it's deep. The fireman starts describing how we're supposed to slide down the pole. He says, you know, sometimes when you wrap your arms around it, he told us not to do that because the inside of our arms can burn. Instead, he told us to practice crossing our arms. Then after we crossed our legs and we slid down the pole. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. I was telling the fireman that we want to go more. So me and my brothers, we kept going. The fireman told us to stop and come follow him to see the fire truck. So we all stood in there and wow, everything on the panel we started switching on. We turned on the sirens. It was so loud, the fireman told us to turn it off, but it was so much fun. So the fireman again told us to come over. I said, the fireman's job must be so fun. In the future, I want to grow up and be a fireman. The fireman looked at me and he said, the fireman's work is fun? Well, not always. He was telling us that when that bell rings, we get in the fire truck and we arrive to the fire. Sometimes people are dead. Sometimes the hose that we use doesn't work. So many different things can happen. It's a very serious job. So is it always fun? No. I looked at him and some people sometimes die? Whoa. He says, do you know what the most common cause for a fire is? Do you know what happens? I started thinking. I said, a birthday party. You're singing happy birthday and the candles light up, and then boom, a fire. No, he said, the most common cause is when children play with matches. They match it, then they blow it, and then a fire erupts. We see this all the time. Children playing with matches. We're warning you to not play with them. Oh, we would never do that. He said, I know. He was thinking, do you guys know what to do if you caught on fire? We were thinking, blow it out? Pat our whole body? I don't know. No. You stop, drop, and roll if you caught on fire. You can do it with a blanket and hold it tight and roll really fast. Or you can douse yourself with water. Or if you have a nearby fire extinguisher, you can grab it and then spray it all over. There's many different ways that you can do this. We were thinking, wow. I told my mom, we learned a lot today. I told her I was tired and I wanted to go home. So we thanked everyone and we got in the car. When we were in the car, I was thinking, you know how before I said my goal was to become a singer? I don't want to do that anymore. I want to become a firefighter because their jobs are so brave. So we went to sleep, and the next morning, it was 7 a.m. My brother came rushing in, and he woke me up. He said, "You know the tree? We can build a tree house. Now, want to come and help me?" I said, yeah, let's go." We rushed out. In the kitchen, my mom was making a delicious breakfast. Scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, everything. So we went in and we ate everything really fast, and then we went outside. We were thinking of all the stuff that we can start building for the treehouse. So we thought that we needed a ladder so that we could climb back and forth. So we were looking for perfect pieces of wood and stacking it little by little. And then we sat on the branches and we were like, wow, we built a ladder.
So then we were thinking what else we might have needed for the treehouse. I told him that we needed a floor so we could walk around. So we climbed back down the ladder and we're looking for some nice perfect pieces of wood. We found them, so we climbed back up and we set up a nice floor in the tree. We're walking, testing it out, and then, I see my baby brother. He's walking around, so I'm yelling for him. He's hearing, so I start screaming again, and he looks at me. I said, "You know that pail? Do you mind getting in there?" He said, "What for?" I said, "Don't worry about it. Just bring the pail and get in." So he gets in the pail. I climb down the treehouse. I'm looking for a piece of string. I found one. I tied it to the pail, climbed back up the treehouse, and started pulling and bringing him up. My brother's in the bucket, and he starts moving around. He starts crying. He's so scared. I'm just laughing, and I keep pulling him up. I thought it was so funny that it was like an elevator every time I pulled him up. I was telling him it was okay, and he was crying and screaming. Then, all of a sudden, I started to smell smoke. And I looked down, and there's a fire. Oh my god. I tell my brother to stay there and stay calm, but he keeps crying. I tell him that there's nothing wrong, and then I'm looking at the fire, and I'm wondering what to do. I climb down the ladder, and I look at my older brother, and I tapped him, and I said, "What happened?" And he stared there struck. The fire just kept going. It was on the grass. I'm panicking and asked him, "What happened? What do I do?" And he stands there. I remembered yesterday, though, that the fireman told me that if there was a fire, you stop, drop, and roll. So I started getting on the floor and I'm rolling over. There's grass everywhere. But then I was thinking that doesn't work. So then I remember he told us to get water. My baby brother, I told him to get out of the pail and to give it to me.
My brother kept crying and crying. I said, "Get out and give it to me now." He said, "Okay, fine," and he climbed out and he tossed it down to me. I was running and running back and forth until I arrived at the house, turned on the faucet, and watched the water filled up in the pail. Turned it off, ran back, and I was running and running, water splashing out everywhere. And then when I arrived at the treehouse, there was only a little water left. I poured it out, and nothing worked. So I ran to my brother and I said, "I need help." He said, "Fine." So we poured out the water, filled it up, poured out the water, filled it up, back and forth, back and forth. And then my mom was inside sitting, reading a book, and then she heard a knock at the door, and she went around.
The smoke, it was everywhere. It wasn't finished, so I knew I had to call 911. So then I hear the sirens. I see the two trucks, and they pull up. And the first truck was the fire chief from yesterday. He was still very sweet, but he got out of the truck, and he looked very serious. He had his jacket, his hat, his big boots, and he was walking over. Me and my brother, we were still filling up the water and throwing it on the fire. We would throw it on the fire, and it would come out and then be put out. I was borderline sweating, and I was panting. Then I see the fireman. He comes and he walks up to us. He asks us what happened. I pointed at my brother. I said, "It was him, it wasn't me." My brother, then he looks right back at me and he points to me. And then I said, "Well, what happened?" I wasn't playing with matches. I swear, it wasn't that. So what happened is that we had found a lighter, and you told me don't play with matches, so I didn't. But you didn't tell me not to play with a lighter. So I found the lighter, and it started to get warm, and then boom! A big fire broke out. It wasn't my fault, I'm sorry. The firemen stood there kind of disappointed. But my mom came running out, and the fire and the smoke had finished. So our house in Dallas, it was very small. Our town was small. So when that fire happened, it kind of left a scar in our community.